Hey guys, Tyler here from North Mountain Knives, and I'm making this video because it's 9/11, 2021. It's been 20 years since the terrorist attack on the Twin Towers, 9/11, 2001, and I just want to do a video sort of talking about our country and my thoughts on as I was 16 in 2001, obviously 36 today, 20 years later, and sort of my changing perspectives and what my thoughts are now um, about that time and what my thoughts are thinking back to that time, fast forward to this time. And I want to preface this by saying, like, I am not any sort of scholar or uh, political, medical, whatever. Um, I have a bachelor's degree in history. I minored in sociology and German, so I have probably the most most useless degree in the world. And now I make wine full time and knives part time. So, uh, you know, I want to preface this video by saying like this is just one man's opinion. Um, so when the terrorist attacks happened, September 11th, 2001, I was in math class in high school. I was, like I said, I was 16, and I went to a really small school. We had, I think, 83 people graduated in my class. My senior year, 83 people graduated. So it was a really small school. Um, we had about 100 kids per class, um, per grade, and it's a super rural. The area of West Virginia I live in, very rural. There were 7,000 people in my county, or are 7,000 people in the county that I grew up in, and it was an hour and a half drive into. You had to go into Virginia to get to the closest mall if you wanted to go to a mall, because that was before the internet was like it is now. You actually had to go to stores to buy stuff. If you ordered something, you were sending a check off into the ether and waiting for an undefined amount of time for a package to arrive at your house. There was no tracking, no, whatever. Um, so, but I'm just trying to express it. Very rural. So, very different atmosphere than um, in DC, in New York, like, the big cities, very different atmosphere, but only 3 hours from driving from DC. You drive to DC in 3 hours, so not that far from DC. And when the attack happened, and all of a sudden, every TV in every classroom is being turned on, turned to the news. We're all in shock, disbelief, um, complete and utter rage, and sort of a how dare you, like how dare they attitude about the attacks. Um, and the country, to my memory, I mean, again, 16 years old. I mean, I'm an idiot today. I was definitely an idiot at 16, um, but to my recollection, like the country really came together. But we came together sort of in that kind of righteous indignation, righteous indignation way, where we're like, how dare you? You attack us? No, 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 no. And there was definitely a spirit of community and coming together and mourning for and trying to do what you could to help the victims and the victims' family, and remembering the firefighters and the police officers that lost their lives, and all, just the regular Joes, the regular American citizens who lost their lives. But uh, always the undertone of screw you, you and we sort of, looking back at the time, it was cool. It was like, yes, America, and that's when like Toby Keith started. We'll put a boot up your ass. I see American way. Like that whole meme. It was like in 2021 terminology. What was happening then was a meme. We were memeing ourselves. We were memeing America, the U.S. We were memeing what everybody else thought about us. Like that's what we were like, we were epitomizing that persona as a nation. Um, but at least we were doing it together. You know what I mean? Now there's a lot of the screw you, righteous anger mentality, but we're pointing it inward. We're pointing it at each other. And so this is the part where I want to like talk about the attitudes of September 11th in 2001 versus the attitudes of this country in 2021. And the one thing we got to change, man, the one thing we got to change is we have got to come together. And we cannot do that if you're going to bury your head in the sand, dig your heels in, and insist that anyone who does not agree with you is a terrible person. We have got to realize as a country, as a nation of individuals, that you can have a different opinion from somebody else and it's okay. As long as there are two sides, well, there's more than two sides, but as long as there are these polarized divisions that are saying that everyone who votes for this guy is racist and everyone who votes for this guy is a communist, and everyone who believes in this medication is a horse paste eating redneck, and everybody who believes in this shot is some kind of fascist dictator sheep that just wants to sterilize us and all this crap. It's just ridiculous, guys. Whether you believe in this or that, this is America, and the point of the United States of America is that we all are from different backgrounds. We have different faiths, we have different beliefs, but we can coexist because we allow everyone to have their opinion. The ACLU, which at the time was made up of Jewish lawyers, represented a neo-Nazi, a white supremacist parade, because they said this is the United States, and in the United States, everyone gets to express their beliefs. And we have drifted so far from that mentality on both sides of the aisle. We have drifted so far, and it makes me very, very sad. It makes me very sad to think that, I mean, when I see people talking about like they're writing people out of their lives because of their stance on a shot, when I see people who are so eager to attack someone because of something they said 20 years ago, guys, like I said earlier, when I was 16, I was an idiot. I have grown. I wouldn't even consider myself an adult until maybe 28. Like and my wife and I didn't get married until we were 30. And we have the conversation all the time about how it would have been cool if we had been together when we were younger. So we'd have more time together. We had these shared experiences together. And I tell her all the time, like, baby, I wasn't ready. I wasn't mature enough. It took me that long. It took me until that age to be mature enough to have an adult relationship. And when you're young, when you're in college, you say dumb things, you do dumb things. It's easy to rile up a teenager or an early 20-year-old. Whether you're a man or a woman, whatever you identify as, it's really easy to get a young person riled up. And I think part of it is that you don't understand the gradient of morality. You see things very clearly. You know for a fact if something is good or something is bad, and once you decide that, that's the way it is, and you don't even really need justification. you know. Um, so if there's anything that I would ask today, and I'm going to try to post this video in as many places as possible. And I know it's long, guys, and I'm sorry. If I thank you if you've made it this far. I'm sure it won't get that many views, but but I just want to put these thoughts out into the internet universe, and I hope that some people can take away. I'm a firm believer that you're never going to change anyone's mind who's firmly dug their heels in. But if there's somebody who's sort of on the fence, I hope that these words can sway you a little bit. Please, please remember that we are in this together. We get one shot. you know, what maybe you believe in reincarnation or something, and you think you're going to come back in another life. But if that's the case, then you should already be a great person, because you know that if you're a bad person, you're going down the tubes if you're if you're a bad person. But I would ask that you please remember that we all are here together. United we stand, divided we fall. It's a mentality as old as our nation. And I'm not going to inject a bunch of my personal beliefs about this whole situation into this video, because that's not what I want this to be about. I want this video to be about the idea of fellowship, and that it's easy. It's easy to be angry. It's easy to tear someone down. It's hard. It's really hard to take that breath. It's hard to hold in your anger long enough to think, what is that person? What is the reason that they think the way they do? And remember that if you live in a city, you have no idea what it's like for someone who lives in the country, and vice versa. If you're black and white, guys, you have no idea the culture and the general feeling that the other person grows up with. If you're Hispanic or Asian, all of our life experiences are different for so many reasons: religion, race, where we grow up, where we live now, our political ideologies. We are all different, but we all live in the United States of America. And that means that we stand for freedom above all else. We're a nation of people brought together by our differences, or at least that's the idea. And I want to see that idea embodied today. So while you're remembering the victims of 9/11, don't just remember the people who died on American soil, but remember the people who died for the next 20 years. Remember the people that'll die for the next 20. Remember that we only have one shot to live a good life. And righteous anger does not make for a good life. What makes for a good life is doing your best to empathize with your fellow human being. Discuss and debate instead of lecturing and condemning. Come together in love, not in hate. I'm sorry that this is a 15-minute video, guys. I could keep going. I hope that you can take something away from this if you've watched it. If you haven't watched it, well, I hope you don't need it. You guys have a good one. We'll talk to you later.